and welcome to the sporting edition of Springboard, your virtual university. It's that day when everyone talks football, including those who don't even understand the beautiful game. And it's because of that big game between Liverpool and Manchester United earlier today. My name is Albert Ocran, welcoming you on behalf of the virtual academic board chaired by Comfort with support from the entire crew. Springboard is brought to you by the Springboard Roadshow Foundation and Legacy, and proudly sponsored by MTN, MTN Pulse Just Be, the Enterprise Group, Enterprise Your Advantage, UMB Bank, UMB Speed Up, DigiBank Let's Go, and the Axis Pension Trust, your reliable partner in pensions. So, on the 20th of October 2019, Man United played Liverpool to a 1-1 draw. That was at the time when Liverpool was literally fully in charge in the Premiership, absolutely irresistible. And on the evening of that game, I had the privilege of hosting Professor Robert Abel Hinson, a die-hard Man United Supporters Club member, and Mr. Kojo Addae-Mensah, CEO of Databank and the de facto life president of the Liverpool Supporters Fan Club. That discussion wasn't about the game of that day, but about change management and leadership transition in United post-Fergie. They shared some interesting perspectives about what had gone wrong with the experiment of Man United from Alex Ferguson all the way through till Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. They gave some ideas about what could be done differently and were joined along the line by Ocran of Joy Sports, bringing some technical dimensions to the discussion. So today, in the light of the match between Liverpool and Man United earlier on, we play back the discussion from 15 months ago and ask a simple question. How many of the ideas shared earlier have been applied between then and now? And even more importantly, is the United of today the real deal, or there is still much more work to be done? Let's have a big conversation on social media while we listen and watch. Very importantly, you will enjoy the quote of the day from Comfort, the game changer segment from Jojo, and that contribution by Amos in the Data is King segment, where he suggests that 50% of all leadership transitions fail. Are you surprised? If you are ready, let's go back 15 months ago to the sporting edition of Springboard, your virtual university. Don't go away. According to Dr. Table in his book Wisdom, if an individual doesn't reinvent himself or herself every 3 or at most 5 years, they will become stale or increasingly irrelevant. So as you listen tonight, the question for you: are you reinventing yourself? If not, do you not run the risk of becoming stale or irrelevant? Before I introduce my guests for tonight, let me bring Comfort in with our quote for the day. Comfort.
Well, our quote for today is from Irish comedian Spike Milligan, who says, "For 10 years, Caesar ruled with an iron hand, then with a wooden foot, finally with a piece of string."
No, slow down. Go at it again.
For 10 years, Caesar ruled with an iron hand.
So iron hand, number one.
Then with a wooden foot.
Wooden foot, number two.
And finally with a piece of string.
Wow. 3 stages of leadership. Give us the picture.
Well, at the beginning of every leadership journey, you need to assert yourself to get things done. As time goes on, less force is required until eventually you can just wink and people will get the message. Well, it's a bit like the story of the elephant initially tied by an iron chain to a beam and finally tied by a thin rope to a plastic chair.
Interesting. I'm going to ask my guests who are experts in this subject of leadership to give their perspective on the changing phases of leadership and the level of coercion, force, or compulsion required to get things done. But tonight I have 2 great friends of Springboard as we dissect leadership transition using Man United as a case study. What went wrong? What could have been done differently? And what is the way forward? Kojo Addae-Mensah is the CEO of Databank, That's the professional part of him, but he's a lifelong Liverpool supporter who has endured a 30-year wait to recapture the English Premiership crown. And he's somebody very happy about the struggles of Man United. But even he will find it in himself to take off that Liverpool cap and put on his management cap today. Kojo, welcome to Springboard.
Thank you very much. It's an honor. It's a pleasure. And I fully support anybody who supports Springboard. I mean, it's probably the best radio program in the world.
Wow.
Thank you. You are global, aren't you?
Charlie.
I thought you were you are not local.
For just this 1 minute, I support Liverpool.
Oh, it's the best. It's the best.
Professor Robert Hinson sometimes wishes he could take off from the University of Ghana Business School on a sabbatical and go and help Ed Woodward to clean up the mess at Manchester United. Such is his love for the club. But he's tied down at the University of Ghana Business School as a professor of marketing. Prof, welcome to Springboard.
See, this Ed Woodward character, I'm very happy to be here tonight because in September 2018, there was actually a banner on the stadium when there was going to be a match between Man U and Burnley, and this was what the caption read: Ed Woodward, a specialist in failure. Can you imagine?
That was the title previously reserved for Arsene Wenger.
It's amazing.
So you are one of the Woodward must go fans.
A specialist in failure. It's amazing.
Let's get into football. Arsene Wenger was not a failure. He kept Arsenal in the top four for what, 16, 18 years?
It was just Mourinho's description, that's all.
That's mine. It's mine too.
Okay.
That's not a failure.
Well, along the line, I'm going to bring my son Oreku to give us a sports pundit's perspective. He doesn't support United or Liverpool, so he'll give us a neutral Barca perspective of the case of Man United. But tonight, United seems to be in free fall. I mean, years ago, a 1-0 scoreline at halftime for United would have definitely meant nailing Liverpool to the cross. Today, at the end of the match, most Man U supporters, if they will be honest with themselves, will accept the 1-1 scoreline because before the match, the expectation was that Man U would lose to Liverpool. What went wrong post Fergie? Let me start with you, Kojo. Okay. You are the against, so let me start with you.
Oh, really? Charlie, ladies and gentlemen listening to us,
all right.
I am the only man in white, the only man in a Liverpool shirt. I am totally surrounded by Man U people quiet in the studio. Please, if you are listening to us, come to my aid. I am alone. I thought comfort was even Arsenal. Sir, I want to say United.
You are just incorrigible. Let's start. For context, let's start with today's match.
All right.
Just a minute on today's match.
Cool. Today's match has nothing to do with your topic.
Yes.
To be honest,
just to warm up.
Yeah, no. The point I'm making is that the change management process that has gone on in United, that we are coming to dissect and discuss and try and teach the world what can be done or should have been done, has absolutely nothing to do with today's match. Today's match was just about passion. It's about history. It's about zeal. Nothing to do with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer.
Right.
Trust me. Yesterday's match, Pep Guardiola and Crystal Palace, was management. Today, it had nothing to do with management. Klopp made a few mistakes, but what I'm trying to say is the passion of the game, the desire to say there is no way we will allow Liverpool to have a record over us. It was the same thing. Arsenal, if you remember, I don't remember the year, 2004 or something, went unbeaten and they were about to set a record, met United, and United stopped it.
They call it a bro. You need to make sure nobody gets their record. Yeah.
So today has nothing to do with change management. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, whether he got it right or wrong, his selection, he didn't have any choice. It was the selection he had was his only selection he could have.
Right. So today's match, those are your comments. Right.
Absolutely nothing to do with the topic.
Right.
Well, the paradox for me is that if this passion that saw us want to win at all costs today was residing somewhere around Old Trafford, where has it been all these weeks? I mean, Luis Saha was saying recently that the problem with United is that the players are bigger than the brand. So if you have player brands that are bigger than the club brands and player fellowship that far trumps the club fellowship on social media, then who is bigger than who? And he was making, and Luis Saha is not Gary Neville, or he's a more recent player. And even he was commenting that your Pogbas and things have far outgrown the brand. And therefore, the passion that he speaks about was so eloquently on display today has not been on display for quite a while now. When Gary Neville says the squad is not deep, the passion is gone, we understand those are the grandfathers of the club. But when Louis Sarr, who was like a yesterday born, is also saying that the player brands have outgrown the parent brand, then there's something to sit down and ponder. I'm sure we can go through that a little more extensively today.
Let me start with the subject you've raised, and I'm going to go back to Fergie just so we get context for the discussion. So I asked myself, what was United's biggest win against a top 4 side under Fergie? And I chose the Arsenal 8-2 match, which I watched from beginning to end.
I can imagine.
The players on display in that match, Jojo.
Awful.
Mention the names.
You had Ashley Young. You had people like Cleverly. Like, it was a very
Tom Cleverly. This Brazilian guy was playing, running about Anderson. It was not talent. Yeah. Something that Fergie managed to do. Jason Park. Those guys were not Champions League material.
Yeah.
But they played like their lives depended on it. Jason Park would bring his head in for a tackle.
Very much.
If it meant possibly splitting his head, he will do it.
Very much.
Kojo, let's talk about leadership transition. In your opinion, what went wrong?
Moyes went wrong. That's in my opinion. Moyes went wrong, and I'll tell you what. You see, when Moyes came in, Moyes was a hand-chosen successor for Fergie, and people in Ghana always say we are tribalists, we are whom you know, but it's the same thing that happened.
You think the Scottish connection was the principal?
It was the key. It was the key. Fergie didn't use his head. He used his heart to pick his successor. Jojo is doing his hands something like that. But I'm telling you, the error was Moyes. Fine, now you've picked Moyes. No problem. But when Moyes came in, and I don't know if listeners know Matthew's synopsis to hold the whole discussion, and Moyes was not inexperienced. Matthew, in your synopsis, you stated that Moyes was inexperienced. Moyes was not inexperienced. Moyes was extremely experienced. He had kept Everton in the top 6 for about maybe 8 of his 13 years or something in Everton. Very, very experienced. But the error was Moyes felt he had to stamp his authority on United.
Right.
He didn't have to. Even Fergie had changed the backroom staff for a bit over the years, but he had a winning backroom staff.
Right.
All he had to do was come in, keep the shape, keep everybody, and see what else could be done. The mistake, the error was Moyes.
So you think that Moyes changing the backroom staff was the biggest mistake?
It was the biggest error of United, and to date, it will take you 35 years to change that one. Okay,
that is wishful thinking. But
now emotion is coming.
The first part was okay. The second part will forgive you.
But on a more serious note, change doesn't mean when you come in, you have to change. Sometimes change means when you come in, keep, hold, watch, protect.
Right.
It doesn't mean you have to change.
Let me come to you, Bob, and I'll come back to you on this. There are some who suggest that those who are proponents of the theory that Kojo just propounded, suggest that the story of the apples that survived a leadership transition very smoothly, did so because the core team that had institutional memory was kept. And it was not allowed for a new person to come in and just wipe away all the institutional memory with a team that probably doesn't even know how to win Champions League and how to win Premiership. Do you share the same view?
Well, I do. And just to piggyback off what Kojo said, it's shocking then that Moyes wanted to stamp this authority, because, Albert, it then makes me begin to wonder, what exactly is the shared vision or philosophy of the club? Because Fergie was an institution, but because he was so brutally successful, it's as if the Fergie formula was the Man U formula. Whether that was it or not, I'm not too sure. But if that formula was a winning formula, how is it that Moyes came in and could so radically attempt to do what Kojo discusses and get it so wrong that Louis van Gaal too has come to mess up, Mourinho too has messed up, and Ole is struggling for what it's worth. So I've always wondered that when you take a Barcelona, for instance, do they have a formula? Is tiki-taka a formula? Is it a philosophy? I've always wondered. So with Man U, the question I need to ask is, what's the shared vision? Are there systems that are put in place to make the club excel? And when coaches come in, do they fit in? Or do they have such a wide berth that when they get it wrong, we enter the sort of dilemma we are contending with today? So please, the first question I want to ask is, what's the shared vision? Because as late as this month, Gary Neville again, and I keep going back to him because he's like one of the biggest names I ever played for the club. He said, poor recruitment, poor selection of managers is what has kept the club back all these years. And he keeps saying that if we don't get that fixed, we won't go far. United today, Albert, is one of the 3 Premier League clubs with no technical director. Now, which world-class team doesn't operate with a technical director? And in the scheme of things, it's the technical directors who are responsible for recruitment, getting the right players on board. Coaches shouldn't be running around. I think in Africa, coaches shop for players. They travel and go and sit in stadium and watch them and so on. It's not a bad thing, but you need a solid technical director to take any world-class club to the kind of levels of success that you are supposed to achieve. So I think the issue of shared vision is something we can discuss a little later, and that feeds into the Moyes issue that Kojo raised so eloquently.
I know you don't want this to be a football discussion, and we should make it more intellectual, but forgive me. When Fergie was in United, he will not tolerate a technical director.
Oh, okay.
Absolutely no way Fergie will tolerate a technical director.
But he left in 2013.
Yeah. So United have not been able to learn how
to use that.
Thank
office.
you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Wow.
So that is an issue they have.
That's a blessing.
Whereas the other teams have worked with technical directors, have worked
as part
of the system.
Indeed.
So the transition of United, and I come back to it, and that is the crux of the topic we are discussing. When you take over, or when there's change management in an institution, there's no one single formula that works across board.
Right.
It can't work. You've got to go in there, study the situation.
But don't you need a basic ethos, Kojo? Because otherwise, everybody comes and flies by the pants or the seat of their pants.
You do. But whoever took over United first, and I have the articles here, and I agree with René Molesting. The person should have just left things as they are.
Precisely.
Talking about
8-step change, no 3-step Lewin change. Matthew, I was crisscrossing and cutting into your theories. It didn't work for United, and it won't work for United. It worked for Klopp. The 8-step change worked for Klopp. It doesn't work for United.
We are talking today about leadership transitions. In a recent Data is King segment presentation, it was submitted that CEOs whose predecessors stayed longer than 10 years started with a problem almost always. It said that 49% of them performed worse than their predecessors.
Okay.
The longer the CEO stayed on, the more difficult it was going to be for the successor to succeed.
Okay.
So in 49% of the case, the successor performed worse than the leader who had stayed for a while. 27% of them maintained the standards, and only 24% beat the performance of the predecessor.
I
looked from the right corner of my eye at Kojo when I was talking, because I knew it would resonate with him. Kojo, talk to me.
It resonates.
He should speak from his own life.
No. But to be honest with you,
I'm just submitting that Fergie would always have been a very difficult act to follow.
I'm telling you, so was Ken. extremely difficult act to follow. Can you imagine the shoes I was stepping in? But I did same also at GCB. You know, when you step into shoes like that at Fergie, when you walk in, the error Moyes made was he wanted to by force prove to the world that he was his own man.
And assert himself.
And kick everybody out and bring his own people. It may work. It could have worked. But I didn't do that. I walked in and just decided that I will just watch what is going on. When you want to bring changes, you start bringing the changes along with your people. Along with your people. You don't want to come in and say, I know it all. I'm the Boro. I came from here. I know this. I know that. That was Moyes' error. If Moyes had come in and said, okay, guys, Fergie was the establishment. He was the institution.
That's it.
We want to still keep that institutional memory there. Let's, listen to what he had to do, what he had to say. Who was he working with? Especially Rainey and Eric Steele. Those were the two main people.
Yeah.
Rainey and Eric Steele. He didn't do that. So
your main submission so far has been that in the Moyes takeover, he upset the apple cart and United has not recovered since.
And United, I pray, will never recover since. Okay, that was a below the belt. No, that was a below the belt. No, but United haven't recovered since.
Right.
But I think if Moyes had come in and left the structure as it was and hadn't shaken it, you know how people
let's
want
move on from Moyes. So
be happy that he came in, he shook the system, he's changing things, but you don't have to do that. You can go in and keep the status quo and still be a successful manager.
It didn't happen. Let's give the club the benefit of the doubt that after they realized that Moyes wouldn't work, they fired him. Next appointment,
Louis van Gaal.
Louis LVG.
Through Ryan Giggs, kind of, but okay, so Van Gaal, he was supposed to be a big global brand.
I think when Van Gaal came, the damage had been done.
So he came to exacerbate it.
No, he didn't do it. I think he just left it as is. But don't forget, Van Gaal won a trophy. Guys, Van Gaal won a trophy.
By the time Van Gaal won the trophy, the club was tired of him.
But he won a trophy. Van Gaal won a trophy. But what he should have done was to try and bring back the Fergie squad and the Fergie back room, just to try and bring the status quo back to normal. But he couldn't. And he kept the Moyes kind of people there. But he won a trophy. What United need is for Fergie to advise. I saw him in the stands today. I have a feeling today Fergie was even in the dressing room. Just like happened in PSG that got Ole Gunnar appointed. It was the same situation that happened this evening. Fergie was the coach this evening. It wasn't Ole.
That's a very wild submission.
I'm telling you.
What is your opinion about the match? What is your opinion about the leadership transitions at Man United? Kojo Addae-Mensah praise, and his heart and his head are in conflict. He prays that United will never come back. But that's okay. He's allowed to have that perspective. I'm going to bring in Oreku Ampofo. Oreku is a sports pundit. He does not have the biases of Kojo Addae-Mensah. Neither is he a Man U fan. So he will talk about it from the sports pundit's perspective. Ray, let's start with selection. If you took your mind off what happened, what should have been done, and you just sat as somebody who is a player as well as a pundit and looked at United today, and somebody asked you to advise on what exactly the problem is, would you say it is the squad? Will you say it is the coach? Or will you say it is the football philosophy?
I think it'll be a little bit of everything that you listed, and it's understandable that when you look at the fact that Fergie has been at the club since 1986 to 2013, that's a pretty long period, and it's normal and usual for the club to become over-reliant and dependent on him. And I think that his level of brilliance and capabilities as a coach did paper over the cracks at the United club. Now, the big change.
Oh, there were
was,
cracks. There were cracks.
I think so.
Okay,
I think there were cracks.
Hold it there. And that's another school of thought we must explore.
Yeah.
People say that, listen, things were bad before Fergie left. In fact, they actually blame Fergie for not improving the squad and using short-term means to survive. So if things were very hard, he'll bring in a Larson, very unusual purchase, and then just win the league with Larson one season and let him go, and then buy Van Persie just for one season. Okay. So one school of thought believes that the problems were there, and Fergie actually ran away because he looked at the problem and he felt it was huge.
Okay.
Ray, do you share that philosophy?
Yeah, good point. Yeah, I think so too. And he may not have left in the best possible notes, but I also think it was at a point where United needed him, especially in that last season, and also on a personal level. I think that he wanted to leave on a high, so you cannot blame him as much for leaving on that note. But I think more importantly, the question is, what have United done after that? Now, I'm going to draw some comparisons between Liverpool and Manchester City because...
Manchester United or City?
Manchester City,
okay.
Yeah. So, because, these two clubs have gone through major transitions recently in the Premier League. And United is currently lagging way behind the two of them who have been competing the past 2 and 3 seasons. But if you look at Liverpool, for instance, when Brendan Rodgers left the club, things were so bad. There was no Luis Suarez, was Ricky Lambert, and you look at that club 11 that he started out with, and just 2 survivors are in the squad right now. And so there clearly has been
Henderson and
Hendo and Milner.
Hendo and Milner. But I think Nathaniel Klein can be considered as one, but he's not in the squad right now. But I think that there's been a hefty amount of change, and what a lot of people tend to forget is the fact that Klopp did not have it easy. At the beginning, Liverpool used to be the trolling club. Everyone would laugh at them every Sunday because they had Konchesky at left back, Flanagan at right. They looked hopeless at that point. But what the board did was that they aligned their thoughts with Jurgen Klopp, and he had a plan. He said it out loud in public.
Please say it again. What the board did was listen to this man.
It's a solid point.
Say it again.
That's my son, please.
They aligned.
Exactly. This is about alignment and ethos. Those things matter to me because there needs to be a certain clarity regarding where we are going.
Right.
So what the board did was
they aligned their thoughts with that of Klopp. And
Thank you. Okay.
So how about Ed Woodward?
We could talk. I'll quench your mind.
I think that's the first major point, a sense of direction and unity.
Correct.
Now, they knew that, and Klopp said that if I don't win a trophy by my 4th year, I'm going to leave the job. Thankfully, he did win the Champions League in the 4th year. But it's a case of patience and trust and investment, because we know that you've given yourself 4 years. We know that you're a good coach. We know that this is quite difficult, but gradually we're going to get there. So they had that trust and sense in direction as a club. Now you look at Manchester City, and when Pep Guardiola was around, Bayern Munich times his last 6 months, he had already met with the owners of Manchester City. And they discussed that, look, we're going to bring your best friend from Barcelona. That's the technical director, Chiki Bekistan, who helped you to, scout all these Busquets and good players. We're going to bring him to Manchester City. He's going to help you sign all the players you want. He'll give you all the money. So come join us. So already you see that these two clubs had a sense of direction and had a plan,
an alignment,
even before their coach left.
An alignment.
And an alignment.
Correct.
And it wasn't easy. Pep came, Everton were scoring 4-0 and all that. Things looked bad. His first season was pretty bad. But what the two coaches did again after that is a sense of ruthlessness. Now, Pep came in there. Joe Hart was England's #1 goalkeeper. You know the English media. They were going to bash him for, sending Joe Hart out. But he didn't mind. He took him out, took all the bashing, and first of all brought in a ball-playing keeper because he had a system. Klopp brought in pressing players and high energetic players like Salah Mane.
You're depressing me.
Because he had a system. So that's when
I
the
like
coach,
him.
That's when the coach comes in. It's Ole or David Moyes or whoever came in, did he have a system that he was going to buy into? Because I do have the statistics here. A lot of people say that.
Say that again. When Ole came, did he have a system? No, I mean, for me, it's the whole thing. This strategy, alignment, ethos thing. It matters. Otherwise, where are you drawing your inspiration from? Everybody can come and do what they like. Go on. Did he have a system?
A lot of people say that Pep Guardiola spent a lot of money. Yeah, since he came to Manchester, he spent £726.3 million. That's a hefty amount of money on 17 players. But yeah, it's worked for him. But Manchester United have also spent 840 million since Fergie left. So that's 6 years. But Pep has been here for about 3.5 years. But it's still as if it's like there's a straight line that Manchester United are trying to get to that straight line. But on that journey, Moyes has come in, branched on the right, tried to come back. Louis van Gaal comes in, branches on the left, tries to come back. Now Ole is trying to, Mourinho also comes in, does the same thing. And let me just give you a quick example on that. Mourinho bought Sanchez 6 months before he left the job. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer comes in, yes, and then sells him. So that's already 2 steps in front and then 3 steps back. So you leave your coach handicapped. Ole is now trying to sell 2-3 players before he brings someone in, and players are not fitting in the system, and it all seems like a big mess. But I think that
media.
I think that Ole he's done one thing right amongst all the coaches, and I think that's the fact that he's been the most ruthless out of them. He sold a lot of them. That's a big step. Now the next step is investing into his plans and aligning the direction. I think that hopefully with that sense of alignment, maybe Manchester United could come back up.
Stay in that seat for a minute as I go for this very brief break. When I come back, Amos will tell us what McKinsey is seeing in all this. McKinsey is saying, listen, 50% of these experiments don't work. And so if yours is not working, please don't be worried. However, if a new person is coming, there are 5 questions that they must ask. If you have your copy of McKinsey's 7S framework, please pull it out, because a few of the questions will be aligned with that framework. I think the key word today is alignment.
It's alignment.
But the second word that also keeps coming up from all the presentations so far is that it is easier to back a coach who has a clear plan about where they are going. And that's a point that has come forward very strongly. So the club must have its own direction that is going to. And so being patient with the coach is key, but the coach must inspire confidence that you can wait for them for 4 years.
Absolutely.
I do not think that any United player or supporter can vouch for Ole that they will be there next year. So it's not.
The goalkeeper said this month, I don't know what's happening in the club. I'm telling you.
This is Springboard, your virtual university. We are having a discussion about change management and leadership transitions. And this is brought to you by Legacy and Legacy Enjoy 99.7 FM. Can something be done to salvage the situation? Kojo, any advice you give will not be sent to Man U. So be the manager that you are and don't be the against that you are. Please don't go away.
My father, closer than a brother. When I'm in need, he be you that rescue me. You are the answer to all life's questions. Kabiyesi, you're the love of my life. Good. You are my father, closer than a brother. When I'm in need, he be you that rescue me. You are my portion and my reward. Kabiyesi, you're the love of my life. Ebube, 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 Chineke, Ebube. No, I can't live without you. Ebube, Chineke, Ebube. Kabiyesi, my father, you're the love of my life. Ebube, Ebube, oh. No, I can't live without you. Ebube, Chineke, Ebube. Kabiyesi, my father, you're the love of my life. Oh. My father, closer than a brother. When I'm in trouble, it be you that comfort me. You are the lifter of my head. Ready? Kabiyesi, my father, you're the love of my life. Ebube, 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 Chineke, Ebube. No, I can't live without you. Say Ebube. Kabiyesi, to dance some more? Are you ready? Mark 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, go!
Indeed is the love of my life, and this is Springboard, your virtual university, and this is a discussion about leadership transitions. When I switch off from Amos, I'm coming back to talk about leadership, not in the dugout, but on the pitch. Roy Keane has just come out with a statement. How dare Manchester United players kiss Liverpool players in the tunnel after a match? There's no way it should happen. He says that was treason. When I come back, let's talk about the power of a good captain. Amos, what are the pundits saying, or what are the experts saying about leadership transitions?
Right. So tonight, our Data is King segment is coming from a book called Leading Organizations, 10 Timeless Truths. And it's written by 2 McKinsey partners. And the book says that 50% of all leadership transitions fail. And the reason they fail is because leadership transitions are seen as an event. So the leader comes in place, and those who brought him in, the board and the key stakeholders, they leave him on his own. They don't really support him.
Okay.
And so, or her. Yes. And so what the book is saying, there are 5 key questions that must be addressed when any new leader comes in place. And the first one says, has the new leader done a SWOT analysis to understand the business that he or she has come to inherit, and has taken quick action to mobilize his or her team towards future aspirations and priorities?
So number 1, understand your team. Okay, number 2?
Number 2 says, does the new leader understand the current culture, and is he or she influencing the required changes to improve performance?
Right.
Number 3, does the new leader have the right team with the right skills and attitudes and the right structure? Then number 4 says, has the new leader considered the legacy he or she wants to leave and spent their time wisely to play roles that only he or she can play? And then the last question says, does the new leader understand his or her mandate and the expectations of key stakeholders?
You've given us more questions than answers, but thank you so much. Amos is the head of our research desk here at Springboard, and he just throws up very gaping issues. Bob, let me come back to you. This is exactly what we are talking about. He says, number 1, they must know their team. They must know what resources they have, a SWOT of what are our strengths, what are our weaknesses, what are the opportunities, what are the threats. Number 2, he must understand the culture of the club that he has come to, or she has come to. Number 3, they must know the structure, the attitudes, etc. Number 4, they must even have a sense of what legacy they are trying to live or leave behind. And the last one, what is their mandate as the head of the team?
And the expectations of key
stakeholders. It would seem that we are focused largely on the coaches in all this. Should we be thinking beyond the coaches at people like even the executive vice chairman, or even the captain? Who is the captain of the club? Do they have what it takes to lead a club like that? I was just reading you the thoughts of Roy Keane, who would typically see a Man U match as a war zone,
like a life
engagement. Yes,
yeah, it's like whatever it is, we win. Yeah. So, well, if you look at the commentary, I'm sorry to announce that the current Man U composition doesn't answer these 5 questions very, very well. I mean, Ole is seen as fairly clueless, and I'm happy that my brother Kojo says that he did well by asking, what did he do again that you like so much? Ole, he did something. I
mean, he sent off Smalling.
No.
I wasn't Ole.
It was Ole when he sent the team to the original.
Finish it, Bob, on the issue of the 5 points that have been raised.
Okay, so I'm saying that if you read all the commentary, the current Man U setup doesn't respond too well to these 5 questions about cultural issues and right team and right skills and right attitudes. And I'm gathering the commentary from past players, from pundits, from sports writers. And the general consensus is, well, Man U is a paradoxical brand. Ole himself is a paradoxical person. The reason is this. Ole typifies what is spectacular about Man U. We all remember the Bayern Munich night where he came as babyface killer and totally turned the thing around for us. 1999, correct?
Are we living on old glory?
No. Given the fact that he's such an iconic figure in that regard, you would expect that he could have drawn that sort of inspiration through and then transfuse it into the team. But that's not quite happening yet. So he typifies what is excellent about the brand in terms of the history and the iconic nature of Ole as a person. But in terms of connecting with those he's working with to achieve results, that thing is not quite happening.
Some people think it's too nice.
That's part of it, and also the fairly gargantuan stature of the people he's working with. I told you, Sir was saying recently that Pogba is somebody who is probably living his own brand, doing his own thing. And how do you bring these people into one cultural mindset, one attitudinal framework, and then align them to achieve the sort of victories you are looking for? That's not quite happening.
Let's cut it to the cheese. Way forward, 1 minute. Way forward.
We need a realignment. We need to do some kind of audit of what it is that we are doing.
People listening to us, they want solutions. Should we change the coach?
No. Give him till February next year.
Hey, Alvin, that was bam.
No, give him to February next year. If by that time we are not in the top half, I think we can look for a new coach.
Ole cannot do it.
He cannot do it.
Mark my words.
Wow. Okay.
13 minutes to the hour of 8 o'clock.
Way forward.
Kojo, way forward.
I have a solution for United. Bring Allegri. Allow Allegri to bring back Eric Steele, Mike Phelan, and Rennie Molesting.
Manoston, yeah.
That is the solution to United.
And the players?
No. The players
They'll be sorted out.
Charlie, the players are good, though. Rashford. It's just that you have too many injuries. Luke Shaw is injured. Pogba is injured. Until recently, we thought De Gea was injured, but you were lying. Very, very unethical. Lying team. De Gea was. But the United team is not bad.
Right.
I'm telling you, the solution is bring Allegri, bring Mike Phelan, bring Eric Steele, and bring Rennie Molesting. United will come back to his glory days. But they won't do it. And keep Alex Ferguson as a studio technical director. I'm telling you, that is the United solution.
You see, what you are saying is true, but because people don't trust you, because you are Liverpool, people think you are setting us up for failure. When it comes to Jojo Ocran, your thoughts about the way forward?
I actually would do the opposite. None of you believe in Ole, but I will back Ole, and this is why. Ole might be a nice
reverend.
People see him as a nice guy, but keep in mind these players have sat in Man U. These players have sat in Man U since Fergie, Smalling. All these players have sat in Man U since Fergie left. Ole has smiled, and sacked all of them. That is no, and it's the ruthlessness we've needed from a coach for a long time. He came in, he had a system. Let's not forget, he came in, he had a system: high pressing, high energy, keeping the game in the opponent's half and trying to get the goal.
True.
So why
did he abandon it after 15,
he didn't abandon it.
matches?
The players just
after playing Liverpool,
they were unable.
Arsenal, sorry.
They can't run again.
They were unable. That's why we had so many injuries getting to the end of the season, and we've continued to have that problem. He has done well in bringing in a new director of fitness, so we should see the results a few months down the line. So my view is let's see what happens in the January window. Probably not much, but next. Probably not. Give us some time. Statistically, the team is performing the 4th best in the league. Over the course of time, results will average out. Give him some time to see the recruitment, and eventually, I believe Ole can do something. Maybe not bring us to the peak, but he will get us going in the right direction.
Anything apart from the peak is not good enough for Man U. I'm going to come to you in a minute for the game changer segment, but Rax, let me give you a minute. Ray, your thoughts about the way forward for Man United? Is it pro Ole, anti Ole? But the captain matter. Roy Kinsey, the guys, they're not serious.
I think the captain thing was bad. I think in your League Cup game, Twanzebe was made captain in one of the games. I didn't even.
Twanzebe? How?
Pogba was in that game. I think was it against Rotterdam or something. He won on penalties.
He used to play for Rotterdam. It was an emotional destiny.
I choose a captain based on. Okay, yeah, but I think that's a big issue. But I think the way forward going for Manchester United, Allegri, a big no. Because what would happen if Allegri comes back? Allegri will come back and bring back the old guard. And that means that all of Ole's clear-outs would be cost 90. That means that you've wasted the past 6 months whilst Liverpool and Manchester City were making progress. I think Ole has taken one step forward. Now, the next step he needs is the backing. Is the club ready to spend 200 million in the next market to get a world-class midfielder and a world-class attacker? I think... There are a lot of them in the market. I think Maguire has been a good influence. I think Manchester United have a very, I think they were top 5 defense, in the league so far. They've improved that, but in terms of scoring, it's not been the best. And I think that Ole is the way forward. It may head. I think it shouldn't head to the point of relegation. It may head, but. They have to align.
Ed Woodward. I'll send Ole a text tonight and tell him it's either he or Ed Woodward.
Yeah.
If Ole stays, Ed Woodward must go.
Yeah, I think he needs support on it. Once he's back, he would be fine eventually.
Okay, so thank you very much, Andrew Cox says United was successful based on a very good academic structure led by Alex Ferguson. Man, you should have switched to the Galactico system of Real Madrid, which involves buying top players.
Very quickly, not true. The academic system, Beckham came from West Ham.
Don't worry.
That squad, they all came from West Ham. They were all East London boys.
Is that each school is allowed to have an opinion. Okay. We will now go to our game changer segment with Jojo. Can Jojo, what do you have for us today?
So today's game changer is an interesting one because it addresses something that Man U needs to do, which is reinvent itself. On Thursday, I called an Uber to, take me back to my office, and Frank immediately stood out because he was driving a Mitsubishi Lancer instead of the typical Kia Picanto. And while we were talking, he mentioned that he used to work for a really prominent company, and I was shocked. Why would anyone leave a position that so many people are striving for just to become an Uber driver? And then he told me a wild story. He was the head of IT and had just completed a massive project to set up the infrastructure for their new office complex. And shortly before they were set to move into the new building, he was handed a letter and told, "Your services are no longer needed." The worst part, they laid him off on his birthday. And I started to commiserate about the horrible treatment, and he interrupted saying, "Getting laid off is the best thing that ever happened to me." He explained that after a period of confusion, should I start a business, should I find a new job, he determined to never be completely reliant on a paycheck again. This week, our game changer is reinvention. Even though Frank has a new 9-to-5, he runs a thriving transport business on Uber's platform, earning thousands of cedis every week, more than he actually used to earn in salary. So how did he go about reinventing himself as a transportation entrepreneur? Number one, he leveraged what he had. He used his severance package to buy 10 cars to start his fleet. Number two, he started from what he knew. He used that technology background to develop an app to manage the fleet. And number three, he built with others. He operates an work-to-own model, which means that the drivers feel like they are part of the business and they are more engaged. So life will bring setbacks, but it's good to know that we don't have to stay down. We can reinvent ourselves. Comedian George Lopez, we are going back to the comedians, once said, when things are bad, that is the best time to reinvent yourself. So for any organization in transition like United, you have to look at how you leverage what you have, start from what you know, and build with others to reinvent yourself. This has been the Game Changer with Kojo Ocran. Have a phenomenal week.
And United must start an Uber business. That's it.
They won't buy 10. They buy 10,000 cars.
6 minutes in the hour. Because you're clapping.
Yeah, I'm impressed. And because this Uber story, I have another guy who I used to work with in Barclays, and he got laid off at Barclays, and then went into Uber. I'm telling you,
he also
Adam. He's called Adam, and today he runs Uber, and in Takwa he's a big guy in Takwa. But I think he's just joined another banking firm. But it just tells me that the Uber thing, it works, and people who get laid off put their hands on their head and say, life has come to an end. So I identify with the story. That's why I'm clapping so much, because Adam, I think his story came on Joy.
Right.
Same guy, his story came on Joy.
So it's about reinvention.
Yeah, he lost his
Let me give you a chance to give us a closing thought. Let's start with you. Let me start with you. Comfort. Listening to this whole discussion about Man U in, let me go what do they call it in English?
This is
Anti-clockwise.
anti-clockwise.
This is clockwise. Let me start with comfort.
From where you sit is clockwise.
It is clockwise, yes. Let me start with comfort. Closing thoughts. Everyone has a minute. Comfort first.
Well, I think the key thing that I took away was, apart from the McKinsey 5 questions the leader should ask him or herself, I also took away the fact that you must have the alignment. I mean, you must know where you want to go, and then see if there's alignment. Where there's not alignment, see how you can craft the alignment with the team. And then, most importantly, ensure that you look at what legacy you want to leave when you leave, and when you are gone from the scene, and work towards realizing that.
Alignment, legacy, work. Prof. Hinson.
So, since we are doing alignment, I'll say you should realign, you should reinvent, then you ruthlessly execute. That's it.
Realignment, reinvent,
and then ruthlessly execute.
Ruthlessly execute. I think Ole got a few marks for ruthless execution, but
yes,
if you stop smiling and get the guys to hit the ground
and align properly
and run as fast as they did today, he will be my friend. But until then, I think he still not showed me enough to convince me.
Albert, I'll take a very quick quote from a Telegraph article.
And this is Kojo Addae-Mensah, just for
David Moyes was warned of the risk of breaking up the successful coaching team at Manchester United by Sir Alex Ferguson, but opted to bring in his own staff, according to former goalkeeping coach Eric Steele.
Right.
This is the paradox. Everybody thinks that once you take over, you have to change things. But it doesn't happen like that.
Our quote for the day said Julius Caesar started with an iron fist, then he moved to a wooden foot, then he moved to a thin string.
Yeah.
So it's almost like in the beginning there must be an iron fist.
Not necessarily.
Right.
That's the paradox of it. That's the error people make. That once you go in, you have to change things. You have to show that you are in charge. You've come.
But you're in charge.
No, break all the rules. No.
In the Bible, Rehoboam did that mistake as well.
No.
Solomon had built a thing. All he had to do was just unite to the food. And then he came and then he said, Charlie,
Thank
look,
you, Pastor.
My little finger is thicker.
Thank you, Pastor.
And he destroyed
and that is my message today. People, when you take over a company, you don't necessarily have to go in and break everything down and say you're starting again. You can leave it as it is. Monitor, watch, Albert.
Monitor, watch, Albert.
And then
powerful. Jojo Kran, 30 seconds for you, Jojo Kran. Monitor, watch, Albert. Your own is powerful.
Mine is simple. Once you have retained that institutional memory and you are ready to move forward with your agenda, reinvent.
That's it.
You have to leverage what you have, start from what you know, and build with others. That's it.
Leverage what you have, start from what you know, and build others. Rick, let me give you 30 seconds to sign off.
I think you look at Klopp and Pep, and all you see is the good, sweet side now. But I think the major takeaway, and it's in line with Dr. Mensah message today, is the fact that nobody believed in you at the beginning. Klopp, Pep in the beginning, no one believed it, and no one thought they would reach here. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is in a similar position. I think that perseverance is key. The need to believe and stick to your way and your measure. That's the way forward.
You have almost convinced me to believe Ole for the next 1 year, so I'll give him beyond February until we come your way again next week. My name is Albert Ocran saying God bless you, God bless you, and God bless you.
Turn around.